Former President Donald Trump and his running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, rallied voters in Georgia over the weekend with 92 days left until Election Day. The former president didn't pull any punches, calling his Democratic opponent a horror show and saying she'll, quote, destroy our country. And Trump has been taking to Truth Social to air his thoughts on the major dip markets around the world are seeing. In one post, he said, quote, stock markets are crashing, job numbers are terrible. We are heading to World War III, and we have two of the most incompetent, quote, leaders in history. This is not good. CBS News polling found 45% of registered voters think they'd be better off economically under a second Trump presidency. About the same number of people think Harris taking office would be worse for their finances. CBS News campaign reporter Jake Rosen joins us now from Washington. So I guess first off, what else is Trump saying about recent economic news, and what have been his policy pitches to Americans who feel frustrated with the overall economy?
Well, Trump, you're right, broke out this new nickname for Vice President Kamala Harris over the weekend in Atlanta, where he talked about the weekend jobs report that came out on Friday, saying that the economy is going to crash due to the Kamala crash. This is, again, what he's echoed on Truth Social today, saying Trump cash versus Kamala crash. It's kind of how they've tried to redefine Kamala Harris and Kamalanomics, as they've tried to call it, to counter Bidenomics, this phrase that the Democrats have used to tout strong jobs numbers up until this weekend. But it's kind of how Donald Trump and J.D. Vance have tried to define the Harris ticket so far, as she is still in the process of choosing a running mate.
What else are you hearing from Trump and Vance in terms of how their strategy has shifted from when President Biden was at the top of the ticket?
Well, Lindsay, it's not like how it was when President Biden was at the top. They could take some of these stumbles, the verbal mistakes that Biden made, clips like him falling off a bike or stumbling up the stairs of Air Force One or down the stairs of Air Force One, him shuttling and being walked by staff around places, and kind of snapping that into an ad. That was something that they did repeatedly and aired both on national television ads. The super PAC supporting him did the same thing, but they would also air those clips at rallies. And now they have to focus kind of more on policy, because Kamala Harris has been put in charge of things like addressing the root causes of immigration, but also as she's kind of figuring out her perspective and her policies, the Trump-Vance ticket has to kind of redefine themselves in the face of a completely different ticket that the Trump campaign has not had over a year plus to kind of prepare for in terms of just opposition research, but also just in terms of how these attack lines land at rallies.
You know, both Trump and Vance have made controversial remarks recently. I mean, Trump calling Kamala Harris's race into question, J.D. Vance's comments about childless women. Are Republicans worried that they may alienate voters?
Well, when I spoke with voters in Glendale, Arizona the other day ahead of a J.D. Vance speech, both the Trump comments and the J.D. Vance comments were, and the defense of them by both Trump and the Trump campaign, were echoed back to me by supporters who I spoke with, who said, you know, it is true that Kamala Harris has kind of chosen which race to run on. It is true that, you know, these women who have not procreated are, you know, hurting America, and, you know, echoing basically this defense that the Vance team had put out there afterwards. So in terms of what Republican voters are saying, that's for sure. But one gubernatorial one leader in America, Brian Kemp, who Donald Trump attacked repeatedly at the rally on Saturday, came out and told Trump to focus on the policies after they got into a social media spat back and forth, and Trump did not. He attacked Brian Kemp repeatedly over the crime rate in Atlanta and nicknamed him Little Brian for not upholding the election results in Trump's favor in the 2020 election.
What's next for Trump and Vance?
Well, we're expecting potentially J.D. Vance to start crossing the country like he has been doing since he was named the running mate, and Donald Trump will be on a West Coast and upper Pacific Northwest fundraising swing where he'll be giving a speech on behalf of Montana Senate candidate Tim Sheehy on Friday night.
Jake Rosen, thank you.